Hey, it's Karen. And while we were home for a couple of months, I decided, well, hey, why don't we decorate? So we changed some lights, we changed the sofa, got some rugs, and now in the process of redoing my valances. So I thought I'd show you what we came up with. The sofa that we had on our RV, we really liked. It was very comfortable. It was lazy boys, nice material, but it really was crammed into that area of the RV. But when we close the slides, it would rub up against the sofa, and when we go to open it, many times it would pull on the trim, and we would have to tack it back together again. We purchased these plastic kids sleds.
Snow sleds.
And we taped that up there because they're slick. And that has been working for us, pulling it in and taking it out. So that's what we're doing for now. So we decided we wanted to get a smaller sofa and get a couple little side tables so we'd have some place to put our drinks. So Dave took the sofa apart and we sold it. I don't like buying furniture without seeing it, but I went online. I found a sofa that was small enough to fit into that area and would provide space for me to put a couple of end tables in. What was unique about this sofa was it came in a box. And then you take it apart, the pillows were stuffed behind the backing and stuff. It was pretty neat. So it was really easy to put together. So the two of us did that, and then I went and found a couple of narrow 10-inch wide end tables that would go with our cabinets to put on either side of the sofa. And I got a couple of pillows as well, as I didn't care for the ones that came with it. I also got these pads to put underneath the legs of the sofa so that it would not slide around because we don't have any carpeting back there. Then we decided we want to get rid of the traditional lights and swap them out for something a little more interesting. And we have the typical lights that you'll find in a lot of RVs. So we put these LED Edison light fixtures in. So these are the current Valances. They're not bad. They're okay. Just wanted something a little more up to date and a little more modern. Turn this light on too. So I'm leaving the part in the middle of the Valances. I'm just changing the material. Actually, I'm not even going to replace that with material. I'm going to go over top of it. Also got a couple of new placemats, going real neutral. I'll be recovering the chairs as well. Dave made me that little shelving unit there for my computer and office supplies. This is another little item that Dave made as well, which was a little swing-in table that he could put his coffee and remote controls on. And then that's the rug Dave picked out. Oh, getting ready to put the valance I just completed up, huh?
Yeah.
Here's all the valances that I'm going to recover, including one in the hallway. So the tools that I'm using is a staple gun and flat screwdriver, butter knife without any ridges on it, a hammer, and a Phillips screwdriver, and got a couple of extra things just in case I need it, that being a tape measure, these little clippers, some tape, nail nose pliers, and I have two sizes of staples, 1/4 inch and 5/16, mainly using 5/16. And I got a box of sewing pins. So obviously I had to measure before I did anything, and so what I did was I measured from here all the way around to here, and then from the bottom all the way up and around the top. Once I got all my measurements, then I drew up a diagram of what I was going to be covering. So I've got, like, here's where my fireplace and TV is. Here's my sofa. This is the back of our rig. And our lazy boy chairs and our dinette. So I listed these as like 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, and all the way around. And those are all the measurements that I took, including in the hallway over here, which ended up being 8A and 8B. So there were 16 pieces of material that I'd have to cut. And then I'm going to do my chairs eventually as well. So I drew that up so I would have a guidance when I start cutting out all my materials. Then I went to Google and I Googled for fabrics, and I looked in fabric.com and Wholesale Direct, and I ended up finding that I think it was Fashion Fabrics Club was where I found the stuff that I liked the best. And on their website, I think I looked up home decorating fabrics. And then you can put in here like the colors that you're looking for, if you want particular material, pricing, what it might be suitable for, the widths that you're looking for. Just sit there and look around, see what you can find that you like. What's neat is you can just order like less a half a yard of something, so you get a nice big piece so you can check it out and see if you like it first. This particular fabric that I ordered was normally like $30, and they had it on sale for $11.95, and I needed I believe I got a total of 5 yards altogether, and so the whole thing cost me under $60. So I'm not a pro at this, so I was trying to figure out to cut all these pieces right length and width. I'm gonna have to make it fit across a 54-inch material and figure out how much am I going to need. So what I ended up doing is I went to Excel and I made like a bunch of squares. So I took my columns here and I tried to make them kind of like squares, and these are how many inches. So I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Went all the way to 54 because I knew that the materials could be 54 wide. And then I knew I needed to cut something that was 21 inches by 16. They're all going to be 16 because they're all the same height and wraparound. And I knew my repeat was 18. So what I did was, here's my inches on this way, went down to 18. I drew a dark line saying, okay, this is where my repeat is going to start again. So there's 18. Then my repeat's going to start again down here at 18. And so how much am I going to be needing? So taking a look at the measurements that I have, well, I can cut side by side. They don't all have to go from top to bottom. So what can I fit in that 54 inches? So I boxed out 21 inch for a valance and another 21 inch for a valance. There's my, actually it's 14 inches that I would need right there. And then this would end up being scrap in here. So there I need another 21 and another 21, so there's 2 pieces, and this is just going to end up being scrap off to the side. Then I was going to need a 38-inch piece, because that's the big piece in the back. So I drew out my 38-inch, knowing that this leftover material over here would be scrap, and another 38, and another 32 and 32, and you can see I'm going to have some waste in between as well. And then I needed a 32 piece and a 20-inch piece. That would only give me a couple inches to throw away, so that would be a little bit better there. I need another 32 and a 20, another 32 and a 20, 32 and 20, and then I'm going to need 2 17s for the hallway, and then I was going to need a couple of bigger pieces for chairs. So when it was all said and done, I was going to need approximately 4 yards. So let's see. I think it was 4, so 18, that's 36, where is that? There's 36, so that's 1 yard. And then, again, that's 2 yards. 3, 4, about 4.5 yards. So at $12 a yard, it's pretty cheap. And this was really nice material. So that's how I figured out how I was going to cut them and how much material I would need. Once I got them cut out, I put tape on them, make sure I would put them on this way and not upside down, so they'd be the same all the way across the room. And this was a 20-inch one, and this was going to go into 7A. So that one is going to go, I believe, above the dinette on this little window. And so there was the 7A, and then here is the 7B. And so you can see that my patterns are repeating, so that they will all be lined up from each other. Then, so that's going to be one of the valances. Here is a little bigger one. This is 32.6A. That's 32 inches. This is 32, cut 32 inches at 6B. So those two pieces, again, I made sure that they were going to be lined up across for the repeat. And so that one is going to be over the dinette. And so I repeated that on all of them. I would put, like this one says 32.5A. Here's 32.5B. So I know those two are going to go on the same valance. And the reason why there's two on each valance is because of the decoration that's in between. I didn't mess with that at all. So now comes the fun part. And the first thing I did was I took my screwdriver and I removed the staples along the bottom and the sides of the white covering. I didn't bother with the top because I knew it wouldn't be seen. Then I loosened up the two screws on either side of the decorative piece, just so I would have some room to tuck the material around those corners. Then I had to align the material, and this is where it gets a little tricky, because I wanted to make sure that my repeat up and down would be lined up properly. Once I had that lined up the way I wanted it, I used my sewing pins and I placed it all around the edges of the material. So I put the pins in to make sure the material wouldn't move when I was starting to work on the folds and tucking it in. And I double checked to make sure everything was realigned properly. Then I started to tuck in along the sides of the decorative piece. When I get towards the top, I couldn't tuck it in anymore, so I had to kind of fake a fold around it and stapled it in place so it wasn't going to move while I finished getting it tucked. You gotta figure the top of that is going to be up underneath the cabinet, so nobody's going to see the staples anyways. So the next thing was to fold over the edges and staple them down. And make some adjustments as needed if I didn't feel like it was quite tight enough. Trimmed off extra threads as needed. And then I proceeded to wrap around the top, staple that down, and use a hammer once in a while if the staples didn't get in as deep as I wanted them to be. As you can see I'm lazy. I just went over top of the old material. And that also provides the next person who owns our unit to be able to remove these and go back to the original if they want to. I trimmed off excess material as well. And then I start to tuck around the bottom. Cut off extra material as needed. And then staple it across the bottom. Pull it snug as I'm doing it. Run out of staples, put more staples in if you needed. And trim off excess. And here comes the real tricky part, is doing the sides. And you kind of have to trim materials you need to because it gets kind of bulky sometimes, but you kind of have to wrap it like a Christmas present. Get a crease the way you want it. And you can't have too much material because then your staples won't go through it. So I have to get in there and trim that a little bit. Then trim and staple. The other corner is just as difficult. You just got to take your time with it, keep finessing it until you get it the way you like it. I would say a full balance took me probably an hour to an hour and a half. Of course, do everything on the opposite side. Trim as needed, staple. I tightened up my 2 screws. And put down the white covering. Stapled it along the sides and along the bottom. Got all the pins. There you have it. Ta-da! And you can see that this line is lined up with this line. So I just didn't want this one to be shifted way down here and have like that line here and then have that line up there. So I did watch my repeat to try to get everything lined up. Same thing back here. You see, here's our duplicate, this loop. There's the loop again. There's the loop again. And again. And you see, I have this lined up going across. So when you choose your pattern, you might want to pick something that you're not going to be able to distinguish or repeat that easily. Either that or be really, really careful when you line it up. And you do lose a lot of material when you're trying to line it up. These I still have to do. I do think it brightens it up though. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, please. I hope this helps someone.